Hey there, welcome to this episode of the EVERBLACK podcast. On this second part of our Download Festival special, we talk to Ash Gray from UK death metal band Venom Prison, who are of course coming down to Australia for the very first time ever for Download Festival in Melbourne and Sydney, as well as a side show at the Foundry in Brisbane. The line for Skype was a bit choppy due to distance, but we got through it, and I was just getting my voice back from a cold. But it all came together in the end, and Ash is just an absolute riff monster and really cool guy, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them in Sydney and Brisbane on that side show. It's going to be awesome. We spoke a lot about their upcoming tour, our love for Carcass, of course. We dug deep into the Samsara album concept, Parkway Drive, because they've got a tour coming up with those guys, and what we can expect from the next Venom Prison album, and of course his thoughts on the evolution of death metal and where it is now and the future. It was a pretty cool chat. I really enjoyed it. Download Festival and its side shows are just around the corner, with some of them kicking off early as next week, and it's going to be a little over a week of just absolute kick-ass shows after kick-ass show, and I'll be heading to as many as I can, including Sydney, for the Download Festival, where I'll be catching Venom Prison, Carcass, Testament, Deftones, Clutch, Ministry, In Flames, and just heaps more. It's just going to be such a good tour. Tickets are on sale now through downloadfestival.com.au, and the side show for Venom Prison at the Foundry, that's on Sunday, March 22nd. That's on sale now through OzTix. Get them before they sell out. It's going to be brutal. All right, before we go into this episode, just need to give a shout out to Blacklight Art Design, who are our go-to for all our screen printing needs. They do shirts, hats, patches, you name it. If you can wear it, they can print it. They've done all our shirts and hats for EVERBLACK Media, and they're awesome guys. I highly recommend checking them out at www.blacklightad.com.au. Show is also brought to you by our good friends at RW Promotion, who are the best in the biz when it comes to stickers, flyers, banners, badges, and all other promo you need for your band or business. Go check them out at www.rwpromotion.com.au. Also want to give a quick shout out to our good friends at the occult clothing brand Electric Witch. That was founded by Matt from Dark Cell, and he's just doing some really awesome things with it at the moment. All his designs are really kick-ass, and he just keeps coming out with more and more interesting ones. You should check him out if you really like things on the darker side, a little bit brutal. Go to www.electricwitch.com.au and throw them a like on Facebook and support them. They're Australian made, and their designs are like no other. I love it. I love their brand. Don't forget to subscribe to the EVERBLACK podcast through iTunes Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, YouTube, and Facebook, and check out all our reviews and articles at www.everblackmedia.com, or like us on all the socials and drop us a line. We like talking to you guys and interacting, and we appreciate all the support. All right, here is my chat with Ash Gray from Venom Prison. Get your tickets now for Download Festival Melbourne or Sydney and their side show, and all the other links are through downloadfestival.com.au. Horns high, enjoy.
Thanks for joining us on the show. How's everything going over there where you are in the part of the world?
Yeah, good. It's been very busy for us down all personally. We've all been quite busy getting on with our own things, ready for tour and stuff. But yeah, it's all going well. Awesome,
man. Well, of course, you're heading down under for the Download Festival and some side shows. And I have to say, I am keen as fuck to see your set. This is the first time Venom Prison has been in Australia.
Yeah, that's right. We're really excited. Like, we've been meaning to come over for so long now. So the fact that we're coming over on Download is like even cooler. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, dude, there's going to be so many people there, and I know heaps of people that are keen to see your set too. It's going to be incredible, man. Yeah,
that's good. Because we've always wanted to come over, but we've always been like, I wonder if like Australia's caught on to Venom Prison yet. But as soon as we like announced Download, like people seem to be like quite pumped on it and stuff, which is nice to see.
Yeah, well, I mean, I went last year and it was such a kick-ass time. And, you guys and Carcass are definitely on my list for the festival. Who are you keen to check out when you're not playing?
I love Carcass. They're my favourite. They're literally my favourite metal band ever. Like,
no way.
Yeah, I love Carcass. Like, pretty much, like, I would probably say, in terms of metal, Carcass are my favourite bands, in in heavy metal, and like they definitely influence like Venom Prison quite a lot as well. So like the fact that, you know, we get a chance to see them as well, that's going to make the day, you know, that much better, you know.
Have you played with them before?
I want to say yes, but it definitely would have been a festival. I think it was Brutal Assault Fest in Czech Republic, but I didn't get a chance to catch them. But I have seen them, like, God, I don't even know how many times I've seen Carcass now, but it is quite a lot. But they never disappoint. They're always so good live.
I've only ever seen them once, and
they're so good.
Man, they're one of my favorites too. I'm hanging for it, dude. And of course, I mean, you've toured with a bunch of bands from Australia before. I mean, it seems like you got a bit of a connection with down here, like Aversion's Crown and Thy Art is Murder.
Yeah, there's Justice for the Damned. Then we got and then Parkway soon.
Oh yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, that tour is surreal. Like that lineup is insane, and the venues on that tour are just like Venom Prison hasn't seen venues that big before.
Do you know what's funny, man? From where I live, I don't know if you know the Gold Coast. Have you ever been to Australia at all, like yourself?
Yeah, well, I went to Australia with my last band that I was in. Funny enough.
Oh, true. So you know Byron Bay?
Yeah, I know Byron well. We played Byron, in fact. I'm trying to think like where we played. We did like Brisbane, Adelaide. We did Toowoomba.
Out in the womb.
Yeah, we did Toowoomba. We did Coffs Harbour as well.
No way.
Yeah, it was quite like, even when we got back from that Australian tour, like people were like, that's quite a long Oz tour, like to be playing those places. Like people don't seem to be hitting them up as much apparently, but I don't know.
It's what we class as regional. I guess where we are, like I'm on the Gold Coast, so we're sort of classed as regional. But, you know, Byron Bay, I mean, everyone knows that's where Parkway are from. My wife was at their very first show years ago at this tiny little hall. No one knew who they were. And, you know, this is 100 years ago. And she's like, yeah, I kind of remember seeing them. She Googled it and she's like, yeah, you know, there was many people there, you know. And then we used to book them. My old job, we used to, you know, book shows. And you look at them now, they're just massive, dude. So that's going to be such an incredible tour for you guys.
Yeah, like looking at, like, I remember seeing Parkway play Newport, where I live in Wales, like literally in, I don't know the year exactly, but I want to say like around 2008, 2010 maybe. And like, you know, the venue they played back then, you know, it was only like 150 to 200 cap room. And now it's just like you see them and it's just a totally different type of beat. It's like, it's massive.
Well, I mean, of course, your second album, Samsara, came out last year, and dude, it's so fucking brutal. You know, the reincarnation concept for it also is just really interesting. You know, I love the whole thing. What was the inspiration behind that? Was that something that was personal to you?
It was a bit of everything, to be honest. Like Venom Prison's always been like leans more towards the artistic side of that type of stuff. It, you know, we've always kind of wanted to make sure there's concepts and themes and that we aren't just, you know, releasing an album with a bunch of songs and just calling it an album. So we've always tried to make sure that like the songs fit with the artwork and the artwork fit with the titles and the titles fit with the lyrics, and just like everything is just one package as such. But I remember like we must have been on our first US tour when it all started to like come to life a bit. And we were just listening to like podcasts and stuff, and like Larissa was doing her lyrics and whatnot. And it was just like a reoccurring theme going on all the time. And like, I remember Larissa just like doing some research and being like, this concept pretty much ties in everything I'm talking about, and we can use it in a way that it'll represent the album as well. And we talked about it for a while, and like it just stuck. As soon as like that idea came, it was the first idea as well. And, you know, we always like try and shoot over as many different ideas as possible, but it always went back to Samsara. And I think we just kind of knew that was right. It was the same with Animus as well. Like as soon as we got Animus, we were like, yeah, that's right. It felt right from the get-go. And then same again, we tried to, you know, see if we could figure some other ideas or maybe an alternative. But yeah, we were just same with Animus. We were just stuck with that idea, and we were like, yeah, we got to go with that. So next record, obviously, we're going to consistently try and follow a theme of something, but we haven't got that far yet.
But it's more than just, it seems like it's more than just a theme. It's something that's very, very well thought out and goes really, really deep. Even for me, I really want to dig deeper into the album and you know, follow that rabbit hole. So it's interesting what you guys are doing. It's not just your standard, oh, here's a concept about, you know, a serial killer or something. Like, it's something that seems to be something that's going to get people thinking, or has gotten people thinking. So, you know, it's well done, man.
Yeah, a lot, like lyrically, and like when you read the lyrics and stuff, like obviously you've got all the messages in there that lead you in different directions and stuff, which is kind of, I guess, what makes people interested. But when you like collect all of those, if I say songs, yeah, if you collect all of those songs lyrically, and then you kind of just like keep connecting the similarities between them, regardless of them being different subjects, they all fall under the same theme. And it was the same with Animus as well. And I think that's kind of like how we've always done it. It's like, it needs to be an album shouldn't be a bunch of songs. I think this is the one thing that I always kind of try and get into my head when I'm writing, is that it's all well and good writing 10 good songs on an album, but that doesn't make a good album. A good album is like a consistency from the start till end. It's almost like a film, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
you can't just keep changing things all the time. It's like, oh, you've got 10 great songs, but none of them relate to each other. So they could all be on different albums for all I know. So it's like that consistency has to be there to kind of make that, almost that relation and concept to be even more solid. And I think that's kind of like what we really do, always like try and aim to, you know, hit on the head and just make sure it's like, right, this isn't just a bunch of songs, this is an album. And I think, yeah, like that's how we did Animus, that's how we've done Samsara. And I think that's kind of how we're going to keep doing it, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely, man. And like the artwork, what's his name? Ellerin Cantor, is that how you say his name?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You know, I've only recently discovered that he's done like a ton of my favorite album covers that it's all linked in. How'd you hook up with him? Because it all really ties in really well.
So that started with Animus. And basically we were looking for artists to do the album and stuff. And I remember just speaking to Larissa about it. And I was like, whoever we find, it needs to basically connect with us. And the person that we speak to basically needs to kind of just be on board with us as soon as like the idea presented. And like we were looking at artworks and stuff. And I was like, I really like this Ellerin guy's like artwork. And like we started like looking through it all. And then Larissa messaged him and said like, this is like, we do pre-production for every album, and just so kind of like we can get that idea before the studio, and when we're sending it on for artwork, like artists can listen to it as they're kind of doing the art, because like you do get some records where you can clearly tell that it was just like, hey, I need some artwork, can you put it together? And it's like, you want it, like, oh, I don't know, something metal. But we always send the music to Ellerin before the artwork's done, just so we're like, right, the artwork needs to represent this album. And when Larissa was explaining concepts from Animus when we first met him, we were like, this is the concept, these are the themes, like we need to make sure it relates. And like he was so into the idea, he was like, right, I'm really on board with this, I like what you guys are doing. So as soon as we got to Samsara, it just clicked. We were just already on the same page and just like, yep, let's go, we've got it.
I'd be really interested to see things from his side of the fence on how his process would be from scratch with your music and his reactions and the way he'd approach it. Did he send you like shot by shot or anything like that, or like video, or like it sounds like
sketches over. He would always send like a sketch over, and we would just kind of talk about things that we thought was, you know, connecting to everything. And Samsara is related to the first track of the album with, you know, the eggs coming out of the woman and like the spiders, you know, eating its own and stuff. And like every if you kind of like even look at Animus is basically perpetrator emasculation. That is what that artwork is called, and it's the song off Animus. And then when you look at Samsara, you look at the first track, and then you just kind of notice that is the artwork, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of like, even when you look at the artwork, there is a song on that album that will completely be a direction in relation to that. So I think that's kind of why we always say, like, hey, we need to send the music, then we'll do the artwork, because it does need to be consistent. I think people are really quick to just throw things together and not realize that, like, music obviously is very, very important, but at the same time, you know, that connection between things is what makes something that little bit more personal and important. And I think, yeah, that's kind of why we take that side of stuff as serious as the music as well.
100% agree, man. And like, you've totally nailed it. And yeah, man. Yeah. And of course, I mean, you know, you're an absolute riff machine, mate. Like, both albums like showcase your ability as a player. Like, it's just incredible, dude. Have you got like a ritual for writing that? Have you got to like go to a certain place, tune out?
This weird you say that. Yeah, I kind of do. Like, it always starts with, once an album's done, it's like, right, okay, playing the guitar needs to be improved now on the next record, if you know what I mean. We need to do something, you know, more progressed as musicians, because bands can keep writing records, but if musicians aren't progressing with it, then you're getting the same album every time. And it's kind of, yeah, like, I think, like, just kind of the stress of Samsara, and like, I think what I love about Samsara is kind of like the desperation in it almost, because it was like everyone was like kind of praising us so much on Animus, and you know, it was our first album and stuff, and everyone was like, oh, Animus, great, blah, 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 and all this. And I'm just kind of sat there with Ben, the other guitarist in Venom Prison, and I'm like, it's great that everyone's saying this, but that's our fucking first album, man. Like, what the hell are we going to do on album 2, let alone album 3? So I think, like, kind of like that expectation and stress is kind of what pushes you a little bit more, because we've never wanted to write the same album twice. So, like, Animus kind of doesn't, Animus is its own thing, and I don't really think Samsara sounds anything like Animus. It may have like some like influence or reference to it and whatnot, but it isn't the same album. And like, even thinking about album 3 now, for example, like, I can already hear in my head that it probably won't sound like Samsara either. But I think that's kind of what keeps us motivated and fresh to kind of make sure that every time we're going to try and, like, you know, strike an album, that it's going to bring something new to Venom Prison, and it's kind of going to keep crafting our sound rather than just kind of going, oh, people liked Animus, let's just stick with that, you know?
Well, in regards to that with, you know, Larissa's vocals, you know, she's got so many layers that she works with. How does that influence your writing? You know, how does that challenge you as a songwriter?
I think, like, just always making sure everyone has, like, natural progression. That's a difficult one, really. Like, I think we always just want to, every single member always just wants to be better every time. And I think that's what motivates everyone as a band, is the fact that each member does want to be better every time we do something new. So it's kind of like, even now, like, I keep like mentioning, like, thinking about like album 3, for example, and it's like talking to like the other guys in the band and stuff, and it's just like, I can already see what they're trying to achieve from themselves for the next album. So it kind of makes it a bit more interesting for me and Ben when we're writing, because I'm like, I can introduce a section like this now in songs, because that's what this person's been trying to perfect and learn. And now we can try and utilize that in songwriting. So, like, knowing what people want to hit in themselves personally for the next record is what makes writing so much easier, because it gives me that leeway to expand on sound rather than going, right, it's just a death metal band, we're just going to do this, we're just going to do that. Where it's like, no, we're kind of trying to like expand that and reach outside of the norm. Well, I wouldn't say norm, but you know what I mean? Just kind of like death metal doesn't have to sound like how people think death metal sounds. Like, it's a subgenre that kind of stemmed from so many different things. No one has ever said that death metal bands can't do certain things, where you look at bands like Cattle Decapitation, for example, like they've been expanding that kind of theatrical, like black and death metal for so long now that they're kind of perfecting it every time. And then you have bands like River of Nile, who are bringing in saxophone and singing and all that. And it's kind of like, there is no boundaries to death metal. So it's kind of like the way I look at Venom Prison, I'm like, well, we can kind of do whatever we want, really, as long as within reason, obviously. I'm not going to go and like release a trance album or something.
But it's true.
Yeah, it's, and like I think people need to think like that more. Like people are so concerned about, you know, kind of being like, we're a death metal band, I need to sound like the death metal bands back in the day. Because you look at bands like Carcass, like in the 90s when they did Heartwork, and for example, like they said they were a rock band. They started telling people they were a rock band at, you know, a certain point in their career, where they were just like, well, we can't keep saying we're a death metal band because everyone just thinks this is death metal. And I think Carcass were probably one of the few bands to kind of start, you know, that change in death metal, where they were like, you know, we can be a rock band if we want to be. We'll still be like a death metal band, but there's no harm in changing things up a bit, you know?
It's not the bands, though. It's that small pocket of, you know, metal elitists that stuck in their ways. It's not brutal, no singing, no this. You know what I mean? But I find that's even now that's changing so much. Like you mentioned, like even like Cattle Decapitation, man. Death metal's really evolving right now. And you can see it on the forefront, man. It's incredible. It's such an exciting time for heavy music, especially with bands like yourselves, and like even Carcass bringing out that new track as well. Like, man, the next step is going to be fucking huge for death metal.
Yeah, I think it's going in the right direction. Like, I think even like other genres are kind of, you know, even starting to take their own take on a lot of things. Like you kind of seeing more and more like hardcore bands, for example, kind of like changing, you know, their and stuff. And it's like you have like, I don't know, like it was even cool, like a hardcore band from, you know, back in the UK, like Higher Power, for example. Like they started off as kind of like a leeway, thrashy type band as such, and now they've kind of gone into like some, I don't know, like some punk rock almost. And it's just like, it's cool because it's like you guys are expanding something, you know, you're not kind of sitting where people expect you to sit, you're doing something different. And I think those bands are the ones that are always going to get the recognition they deserve, because they are, you know, taking things out of their comfort zone and taking that risk of. The problem with that type of stuff as well is every time you write a record and you are going to try and change things about the band you're in, and you're going to try and evolve your sound, is that you are taking that massive risk that people may not like at all. And that's kind of the most frightening bit, to be honest, because you're like, oh God, this may be well written, this may be good, but is this going to be a bit much for people? Are they going to hate this, you know?
Yeah, that's true as well. But I mean, you got to do it. You can't be stuck in. You can't be writing the same death metal record over and over again. But in saying that, what elements are you guys playing with for album number 3? Is there anything that you're really pushing?
There's like, honestly, like there's so many things to list. Like I think like album 3, like when me and Ben talk about album 3, like I think what we want to do with that one is kind of just be like, not so much just metal, but music. Like I think we're just like, we really want to just involve as much musical influence as we can into that record. Like, and don't be afraid of using different instruments to bring into the band as such, like for like, you know, studio or live. Like when we did Damnation Fest in November, we had Joe Quayle play cello alongside us through the set and stuff. And it was like, as soon as we did that, it was like, well, why can't you put a cello on album 3? Why can't you put, you know, all different elements, you know, bringing in more keys or whatever, or just kind of like, because everyone is capable of doing something else other than their instrument. And it's like, well, do you want to try and expand on something and just kind of make it more musical as such? And I think that's kind of the direction that we're looking at. But I mean, things can change all the time. Like, you know, you can write 10 songs and then you can put them in the delete bin within 10 seconds. But as far as we've got right now, I think I'm in my head, I'm thinking like more like, right, okay, we've done, like, people know we've done the technical stuff. People know we've done the more grindy, heavy, moshy stuff. Like, you know, shall we try and introduce something new again that people will probably be quite surprised that we were even capable of doing? So I think that's kind of the way I'm thinking at the moment for album 3, is just being like, okay, let's just introduce something that people aren't going to expect. And it's something that we can show off what we are capable of as a band as well.
That's really exciting, dude. As a fan, I can't wait to hear what you guys do next. But in regards to, I mean, what are you doing for the rest of the year? What's happening for 2020 for Venom Prison, apart from Download?
As soon as we do Download, we fly straight to Southeast Asia for a couple of shows, and then Hammer Sonic Fest.
Oh, dude.
That lineup is crazy for Hammer Sonic. I think it's Slipknot headlining. Yeah,
yes.
It is. And then, yeah, we do a bunch of stuff in Asia, and then we fly back straight to Germany to start that Parkway Hatebreed tour. We get back, then I think we have like a few festivals and stuff. Well, we'll probably be doing more toward the end of the year and stuff, but any time in between there will just be spent writing, to be honest.
Big year ahead, brother.
Yeah.
It's a lot of touring, man.
It's never not been a busy year for this band since it started. Like, we were talking about this. Like, I was literally just like, fuck me, guys, when are we having a year off? Like, it's been 5 years and I could do with a year off. But nah, I think we're all too eager to get things done. Like, we're so like high functioning with like what we want to do and stuff. And it's just like every day it's like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. So the chances of Venom Prison slowing down is probably zero, to be honest.
That's a good thing, man. It means you're enjoying what you're doing, and you know it's just going to keep building. It's really exciting, man. Thanks again for hanging with us on the show, man. And we'll see you at Download Festival in Sydney and Melbourne this month, and your side shows, which is that's kicking off at the Foundry in Brisbane. That side show, that's on the Sunday. That venue's rad. You're going to absolutely annihilate it. It's going to go down.
I'm quite excited for that show.
Yeah, I'll bring you a beer, bro.
Oh, nice. That's what I like to hear. That is what I like to hear.
Well, man, yeah, thanks again for hanging, dude. And I'll let you go, and I'll see you in Sydney and Brisbane.
Cheers, man. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.